For centuries, the ocean has hidden truths so strange that they blurred the line between myth and science. Sailors spoke of colossal creatures dragging ships into the abyss. Scientists dismissed them as legend, exaggerations born from fear and imagination. But then, reality caught up. When the giant squid was finally confirmed as a real animal, it didn't simply answer old questions. It created far more disturbing ones, because nothing about giant squids fits the normal rules of biology. Not their size, not their anatomy, not their nervous system, not even their eyes. In fact, the deeper scientists looked, the clearer one thing became. Giant squids are evolutionary outliers, creatures that should not exist in the form we observe today. And yet, they do. To understand why, we need to begin where most life on Earth never ventures, the deep ocean. More than 90% of the ocean exists in near total darkness. Temperatures hover just above freezing. Food is scarce. Pressure is crushing. In these conditions, most animals evolve to become smaller, slower, and more energy efficient. Yet giant squids did the opposite. They grew massive, reaching lengths over 10 meters, with bodies built not for speed near the surface, but for survival in a realm where every calorie matters. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes no sense. Large bodies require more energy. Large muscles demand more oxygen. Large nervous systems are metabolically expensive. So why would a deep-sea animal evolve into a giant? The answer lies in a concept that still unsettles marine biologists: deep-sea gigantism. In the abyss, certain animals defy surface world logic. Isopods grow to the size of dinner plates. Worms stretch several meters long, and squids, already unusual creatures, take gigantism to an extreme. But gigantism alone isn't the strangest part. The real anomaly is how precisely engineered the giant squid is for a world that should punish complexity. Their muscles are arranged for sudden bursts of power, not sustained movement. Their bodies are neutrally buoyant, reducing energy costs. Their metabolism appears finely tuned to long periods of near starvation. This suggests something unexpected. Giant squids are not clumsy monsters. They are optimized predators, which raises a critical question. Predators of what? Unlike surface squids that rely mainly on suction cups, giant squids possess something far more aggressive. Their arms are lined with rotating, serrated hooks. Not soft, not passive, but sharp, hardened structures capable of tearing flesh. Hooks like these are unnecessary for small prey. They exist for combat. This implies that giant squids evolved in response to large, powerful adversaries. Animals capable of resisting, struggling, and fighting back in the dark. And the ocean offers only one realistic candidate: large, deep-diving whales. Specifically, predators that hunt by sound rather than sight. In the deep ocean, vision is almost useless. Light does not travel far. Colors disappear. Shadows vanish. Sound, however, becomes everything. Some whales evolved the ability to map the darkness using echolocation, bursts of sound that reveal prey through returning echoes. To a giant squid, this presents a nightmare. You cannot hide from sound. You cannot outrun it forever. You cannot see the hunter coming, unless you evolve countermeasures. Giant squids possess the largest eyes ever observed in any living creature, up to 27 centimeters in diameter, larger than a human head. At first glance, this seems excessive, useless, wasteful. But mathematically, it is anything but. These eyes are not optimized to see detail. They are optimized to detect faint disturbances, subtle flashes of light caused by bioluminescent organisms reacting to movement. When a massive predator moves nearby, it creates a chain reaction of light in the water. To a giant squid, this is an early warning system, not for prey, for survival. Most predators evolve eyes to track targets. Giant squids evolved eyes to detect approaching doom. This alone places them in a strange category. They are apex predators, yet their sensory systems suggest a constant expectation of attack. This contradiction is critical. It tells us that giant squids are not the rulers of their environment. They are participants in an arms race. And that arms race shapes not just their bodies, but their brains. Squids already have unusual nervous systems, but giant squids take this to another level. Their neurons are enormous, some of the largest known in biology. Signals travel faster than in most invertebrates. Reaction times rival those of much more complex animals. Why would a deep-sea animal require such speed? Because hesitation means death. In an environment where encounters are rare but catastrophic, survival depends on instant decision. This suggests that giant squids evolved under intense, infrequent, but lethal pressure, not constant competition, sudden annihilation. Everything about giant squids points to one conclusion: they are not built for abundance. They are not built for dominance. They are built for avoidance, resistance, and escape. Their size deters attackers. Their hooks punish contact. Their eyes warn of distant movement. Their nervous system enables immediate response. This is not the profile of a casual predator. It is the profile of an animal shaped by something terrifying enough to force perfection. And yet, despite all this complexity, we know shockingly little. No one has ever observed a giant squid hunting in its natural environment from start to finish. No one has seen them reproduce. No one knows how long they live. Which brings us to the most unsettling part of all. If they are so advanced, why are they so rare? Advanced adaptations usually lead to success. Success leads to abundance. But giant squids are elusive, almost ghosts of the deep. They appear rarely. They strand unpredictably. They leave behind more questions than answers. This suggests one of two possibilities. Either they are incredibly efficient at staying hidden, or their world is far more dangerous than we imagine. If giant squids were only legends, we could dismiss them as exaggerations of the human imagination. But the evidence does not come from myths. It comes from scars, from stomach contents, from deep-sea sonar recording, and from carcasses pulled from the ocean with marks that tell a violent story. Because when science finally began to examine the giant squid seriously, it discovered something disturbing. They are not passive giants drifting in darkness. They are combat survivors. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence does not come from the squid at all. It comes from whales. Specifically, from the bodies of deep-diving toothed whales that surface bearing circular scars, perfectly round, evenly spaced, unmistakable. These scars match the diameter and spacing of giant squid suction cups, but not the smooth suction cups of shallow water species, the rotating serrated hooks. The implication is unavoidable. These were not gentle encounters. They were violent struggles in total darkness, and they happened hundreds of meters below the surface, where pressure exceeds 100 atmospheres and temperatures approach freezing. Yet both animals survive often enough to carry the evidence. This means the deep ocean is not silent. It is a battleground. The primary suspect in these encounters is the sperm whale. Deep diving, echolocating, and capable of descending beyond 1,000 meters, sperm whales are among the few predators powerful enough to hunt giant squids. But here is where the story becomes scientifically fascinating. Sperm whales do not rely on sight. They rely on sound, highly focused clicks that function like biological sonar. For a giant squid, that means escape must occur before contact. Once detected, the advantage shifts rapidly. The squid's hooks suggest resistance. The whale's scars suggest impact. The outcome, in many cases, suggests the whale wins, but not without cost. And that cost reveals something critical about giant squid behavior. They fight back. Imagine the physics of such an encounter. Two massive animals suspended in near-zero visibility, one navigating by acoustic imaging, the other detecting faint bioluminescent disturbance. When contact occurs, it is sudden. There is no visual, only pressure wave, movement, and instinct. The squid's tentacles extend with explosive acceleration. Among the fastest predatory strikes in the animal kingdom, hooks embed, muscle contracts, ink may be released, though its effectiveness in deep water is debated. Meanwhile, the whale twists, turns, and bites. It is not a cinematic struggle near the surface. It is a compressed, high-pressure collision measured in seconds, and often, the whale emerges with scars that last decades. For centuries, no one had ever filmed a live giant squid in its natural habitat. Despite advanced submarines and remotely operated vehicles, the deep ocean remained resistant. Why? Because giant squids appear to detect disturbances before we detect them. Early deep-sea expeditions using bright lights and loud equipment consistently failed. It was not until quieter, low-light camera systems were deployed that success came. This suggests giant squids are extremely sensitive to environmental changes. Pressure shifts, vibrations, unnatural light. They respond by retreating. This level of sensitivity implies highly refined sensory processing, which brings us to their brain. Squids, as a group, are already known for remarkable intelligence among invertebrates, but the giant squid remains largely unstudied in this area, due to the difficulty of observing live specimens. However, anatomical examination reveals a complex brain structure relative to body size. Unlike vertebrates, squids distribute much of their neural processing throughout their arms. Each arm can process information semi-independently. This creates a decentralized system, one that allows rapid, multi-directional responses. In a sudden deep-sea encounter, centralized processing would be too slow. Distributed intelligence solves that problem. The giant squid does not think in the way mammals do. It reacts through parallel processing. Speed is survival. The giant squid is not alone in its strangeness. There exists another species even heavier, and arguably more extreme: the colossal squid. While giant squids are longer, colossal squids are bulkier, with thicker bodies and even more formidable hooks. Their existence reinforces a pattern. Gigantism in deep-sea cephalopods is not an anomaly. It is a strategy. But strategy for what? Deep-sea food webs are energy-limited systems. Large bodies require efficient conversion of scarce resources. Research suggests giant squids grow rapidly during early life stages, then shift into slower, energy-conserving adulthood. This growth model resembles a high-risk evolutionary gamble. Grow fast, reach a size few predators can handle, then conserve energy and avoid unnecessary exposure. It is survival through calculated scale. Why so few sighting? If giant squids exist in measurable numbers, as whale diets confirm, why are human encounters so rare? The answer may lie in vertical migration. Many deep-sea organisms move up and down the water column depending on time of day, but giant squids appear to remain primarily in deep pelagic seas. This reduces overlap with human activity. Additionally, their soft bodies decompose rapidly after death. Unless brought to the surface quickly, evidence disappears. This creates a statistical illusion of rarity. They may not be rare. They may simply inhabit a realm we barely sample. Genetic clues. Recent genetic studies of stranded specimens have revealed surprisingly low global genetic variation. This suggests either a relatively recent population bottleneck or continuous interbreeding across vast oceanic ranges. If the second is true, giant squids may traverse enormous distances in the deep sea, meaning the deep ocean is more interconnected than we assume. This challenges the idea of isolated abyssal ecosystem. Instead, it hints at migration routes and behavioral patterns still invisible to everything we know about giant squids comes indirectly from predators, from stranded remains, from rare camera. We have never followed one from birth to death. We do not know their mating rituals. We do not know how often they reproduce. We do not know their true population size. And yet, every anatomical detail screams specialization. Extreme eyes, rotating hooks, rapid neural conduction, energy-efficient buoyancy. These are not random traits. They are signatures of evolutionary pressure. But pressure from what exactly? Whales explain part of the equation, but not all of it. Because when researchers analyze the mechanical strength of giant squid hooks, they find something intriguing. They are overbuilt, stronger than necessary for resisting whale skin alone, which raises a possibility rarely discussed outside scientific circles. There may be interactions in the deep sea that leave no surviving witnesses. To understand why nothing about giant squids is normal, we must confront a difficult truth. Our understanding of life on Earth is surface-biased. Most biological rules are written based on sunlight, seasons, plants, and predictable energy flows. The deep ocean follows none of these rules, and giant squids are proof. When biologists analyze giant squid anatomy, a pattern emerges. Nearly every system is over-engineered. Their eyes detect movement beyond what is necessary for hunting. Their hooks exceed the force needed for known predators. Their nervous system reacts faster than most animals in similar niches. Their bodies balance mass and buoyancy with extreme efficiency. Evolution rarely produces excess. Traits that cost energy without benefit are eliminated, which means these features exist because at some point, not having them meant death. This is the core scientific anomaly. Giant squids are not just adapted, they are adapted against something extreme. Sperm whales explain much of the pressure. But when researchers model encounters between whales and squids, inconsistencies appear. Some squid injuries cannot be explained by whale bites alone. Some hook patterns suggest grappling, not escape. And some scars on whales imply prolonged contact, longer than a simple capture event. This has led scientists to consider a broader interpretation. Giant squids may not be fighting only to avoid being eaten. They may be fighting for territory, mating access, or dominance. Interactions we have never observed. In the deep ocean, even members of the same species may represent existential threats. The deepest regions where giant squids likely spend most of their lives remain almost completely unobserved, not unexplored, unobservable. At depths beyond 1 kilometer, equipment struggles. Pressure damages electronics. Communication delays increase. Light becomes invasive rather than informative. Most deep-sea footage captures only moments, never context. This means we are reconstructing an entire way of life from fragments. Scars. Carcasses, genetic data. It is like trying to understand human society using only fossils and crime scene evidence. And yet, the fragments agree on one thing. This environment rewards awareness, speed, and resilience. If intelligence is the ability to process information and respond effectively, then giant squids qualify. But their intelligence is alien. They do not plan long-term strategy. They do not build social structures we recognize. They do not communicate through sound as whales do. Instead, they operate through instantaneous distributed control. Each arm reacts independently. Each movement is reflexive yet coordinated. Each decision is compressed into milliseconds. This is intelligence shaped not by cooperation, but by survival in isolation. There is a misconception that rare sightings mean rare animal. In the deep ocean, the opposite is often true. Many abundant species remain unseen simply because they avoid disturbance. Giant squids likely detect pressure changes from approaching vehicles, vibrations from propulsion systems, artificial light far outside natural wavelengths. To them, human exploration is not curiosity, it is threat, which means every successful recording is not evidence of abundance, but of error. A moment when the squid miscalculated. For centuries, giant squids were labeled monsters, not because they were aggressive, but because they were unknown. Science has since stripped away mythology. What remains is something more unsettling, a creature so precisely adapted to an extreme environment that it challenges our assumptions about what life can become. No magic, no mystery forces, just evolution operating under conditions we barely understand and producing results that look impossible from the surface. Giant squids are not exceptions to nature. They are mirrors. They reflect what happens when life evolves where energy is scarce, danger is sudden, and mistakes are fatal. They show us that complexity does not require warmth or light, only pressure, only time, only selection. And that realization has consequences beyond biology. If such extreme specialization exists in one deep-sea species, it likely exists in many others we have never seen. Entire predator hierarchies may operate unseen. Entire life cycles may unfold without observation, which means our models of marine ecosystems are incomplete, not wrong, incomplete. And every new expedition confirms this. The deeper we go, the more the rules change. So why does nothing about giant squids feel normal? Because they evolved in a world where normal does not apply. A world without light, without landmark, without forgiveness for hesitation. They are not monsters, they are evidence. Evidence that Earth still holds environments capable of reshaping life into forms that feel unreal. Not because they defy science, but because they obey it too well. The deep ocean remains one of the last frontiers on this planet, and giant squids are not its rulers, they are its survivors. If you want to understand how extreme environments shape life, and what else may be waiting beyond our reach, stay curious. Because the most unusual creatures on Earth are not the ones we imagine. They are the ones we have barely begun to observe.